It was a pretty good reading month for once. Hello Bookworm family, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Danny. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell because I am posting probably 2 videos a week for the month of November. We'll see how it goes. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, please be sure to do that. It is at _dancing_bookworm. I post on there full book reviews and bookish content. So today is my October wrap up. I am honestly not feeling great. I have a little sinus infection. It's not COVID related. It's just not. It's how it is when the weather changes and with daylight savings time and everything. My whole system's just thrown off. So I am actually going to just kind of speed through this a little bit because I'm not feeling great, but I wanted to get it done because I want to jump into November because it's Believe-a-thon and I'm super excited for it and I didn't want to delay anymore to getting into that. So without further ado, let's get into my October wrap up. So very first thing I have to do is go over my stats. So I read 2 realistic contemporary books, 3 sci-fi fantasy, 1 mystery, 1 poetry, and 1 other for a total of 8 books that I read throughout the month. I read 1 children's book, 6 young adult books, and 1 adult book. My notes are down here, that's why I'm looking down. I read 1 paperback, 3 hardcover, and 4 audiobooks. It was definitely a month for audiobooks because it's just nice to be able to listen to them when I'm cleaning at work or cleaning my room or doing other stuff, so it's nice to have audiobooks, and I'm so thankful for Scribd. This is not sponsored, I just really love Scribd because it is only $10 a month and I can listen to as many audiobooks as I want. So then for star ratings, I had 1 1-star, 1 2-star, 1 3-star, 2 4-stars, and 3 5-star books. It was a pretty good month for 5-star books. I was really happy about it. And yeah, that completes the stats for October. I'm really happy about it. I didn't go through how many books I bought this month, but it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 books this month, so not too bad. I didn't go through the price or anything like that yet, but I will do that later. So yeah, so let's jump into the books that I read. So the first book that I read was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This was for the prompt of a powerful female lead on Bookerty, so that was what that prompt was for. I did listen to this on audiobook. It is about Camino and Yahira. One lives in the Dominican Republic and one lives in New York City. They don't really know the other exists until they realize that their father has passed away, and when he does, he actually died in a plane crash. When that happens, it's revealed that he has 2 different families, one living in the DR and one living in New York City. So the sisters have to kind of come together for the first time to come to terms with their father's passing. It was a very emotional book. I did give it 5 stars though. I felt like it was a book that I needed. It is coming up on the anniversary of my father's death, so it was really a book that I needed to hear about father's love, and even though people make mistakes, like, you have to remember the good things about them and stuff like that. So it was a really good book. It didn't make me sad and emotional, but I thought it was really well written. It is written in verse, so that was nice, and listening to it on audiobook was extra nice because you get to kind of hear how the verse flows and a little bit more of a slam poetry style, which I really enjoyed. And it just had a lot of really strong modern day topics that need to be talked about. I will say there are huge trigger warnings in this for everything from grief to sexual assault to abuse to everything. So really read with caution, but it is a great YA book and I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read was Emancipated by M.G. Reyes. This is a book that I actually bought at the dollar store so long ago, and I never got around to reading it because it was one of my lowest rated on TBR for a long time, or not TBR, it was one of the lowest rated on Goodreads for the longest time. This didn't only get 2 stars from me, but it is basically about 6 kids who are emancipated and living in LA, and they all have their secrets, everything from a murder to, relationships to sexual experiences to secrets that they're holding. So it's very dark. The reason I didn't really like this book is because it is the first in a series, and I don't feel like it needed to be the first in a series. I felt like it could have been one of those books where it wrapped up nicely in the first book if it was just a little bit longer. So I do not want to continue on with the series, but it did leave me not knowing almost anything. I think maybe one question was answered throughout the entire book. So it left me with really nothing. And I don't want to continue on with the series because I just wasn't that invested into it. So it was kind of upsetting that I didn't get all the answers that I wanted, but I just didn't like it enough to want to continue on. Honestly, if it didn't leave with so many unanswered questions, it probably would have been like a 3-star book for me. But because I had so many unanswered questions by the end that I would need to read the second book for, I just did not care. And it was just so many unanswered questions that I was like, I think there's like 3 or 4 books in the series. I don't want to read the second one because I feel like it's going to leave me with as many unanswered questions, and that's just not great for me. This was for the LGBTQIA plus rep from my Bookerty prompts. So yeah, I did give this a 2-star. It just kind of made me mad. I just didn't really like it. It took me forever to read it. I actually started it in August and didn't finish it till October, but I was only like 20 pages in for like 2 months because I just didn't care that much. But anyway, yeah, not my favorite book of the month, but what you gonna do? You're gonna get some stinkers once in a while. So the next one is Hidden Bodies by Carolyn Kepnes. This is the second book in the U duology. This is about the first book is about a guy named Joe who is a stalker, a very mentally unstable stalker, and he thinks he is perfect and that everybody else is flawed, and he falls in love with somebody named Guinevere Beck, who is just not living up to his expectations or standards for what he wants in somebody to love him back, even though she doesn't love him back, and he doesn't understand that. So this one is the sequel to that. This is he actually goes to California in this one. So it's very interesting. It's very dark. It's very twisted. And I made the mistake of listening to this on audiobook, which kept me up a lot because it is also told in second person point of view. So it says, you are watching, you are doing, you are listening, like kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be that person, I don't think. But this is for the prompt of niece picks. So if you guys watched my Bookerty video for October, I let my niece just pick a book off my shelf randomly, and she liked the color of it. So she picked it, which is really funny because this is super not an appropriate book for children at all, but she just liked the color, so she picked it. So yeah, I did end up giving this 5 stars because I think I only gave you 4 stars, but this one was a little bit more twisted, a little bit more dark, and I did read it at Halloween time, so it was just kind of what I was in the mood for too. So it was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. It's so twisted, it's so creepy and edgy, and it really, I mean, she nails the character of Joe so well despite being a woman writing from a horny man's point of view. Like, I feel like that has gotta be a difficult thing to write, especially when you're writing about stalking and all these horrible things that could happen to a woman. Like, this is intense. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. The audiobook was about 13 hours long, but really it was worth it. And looking at the print, I'm glad I read it in audiobook because if you guys know, I really don't like reading tiny print. It gives me a headache. So it was nice to have the audiobook option. And there were times when I would like pick it up and read along with the audiobook, but for the most part, I just listened to it while I was doing other stuff. I did not listen to that one while I was cleaning at work because Lord, I did not want to be alone at work listening to a book about a stalker and then have somebody walk in and be like, So the next book that I read in the month of October was The Poet X. This is also by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is what Clap When You Land was by. This was for the prompt of work related, so I am an English tutor, and it does talk about an English teacher in here who's teaching poetry, so I did use this one for that prompt. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. This was a reread for me. I've read it before, but this is, again, written in verse, and this one was actually from when Page Habit exists. I wish Page Habit still existed because it was awesome. But this is written in verse. I'm sorry if you can hear in the background, my nephew is making monster sounds, but when Page Habit did their books, the author went through and annotated the books, and then they copied those post-it notes and put them in. So it's really nice to read with the post-it notes in. However, I did end up listening to this on audiobook because I liked how much Clap When You Land sounded on audiobook that I wanted to hear this one on audiobook. So it was very interesting, but I have read this before, so I used these before. This, like I said, I gave a 4 out of 5 star. The only thing that I didn't really like about it was the like, I just really hated the mom. Like, I really, really hated the mom character to the point where I was like, I don't find redeeming qualities in you, even though there are. And, like, after you sit down and you're like, okay, yeah, I guess. But, like, I just didn't like her. So, yeah, really, the mom just turned me off, and that's why I was only a 4-star. But, yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and, you know, it was a great reread, a quick reread, and if you guys have not read any of Elizabeth Acevedo's books before, highly suggest it, especially her ones written in verse, because she has just such a beautiful way of writing her stanzas, and her dialogue within the verse is just so well done. I absolutely love it. Oh, I didn't actually say what this was about. Whoops, my bad. So this is about Zayamara, who is, she really, really wants to be a poet, and she finds a poetry club at school, but her mom won't let her do the poetry club because it's at the same time of her communion classes. Communion classes? No, not communion. What is it? Not communion is the older one, the one for older people. I'm not Catholic, can you tell? Confirmation. Confirmation, there it is. So confirmation classes, and she is really trying to discover who she is, and her mom is really keeping her from that. Her mom thinks that she should be exactly who her mother is, and, she's not interested in that life because her mother's, like, world belongs to Jesus, and she doesn't know if she really even believes in that. So it's a very good book. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, just the mom character turns me off so much. I absolutely hated her character. So the next book I read was Unbirthday by Liz Braswell. This is one of the books in the Twisted Tale series. This is about Alice, who lives in Wonderland, or not lives in Wonderland, but Alice from Wonderland, and she actually gets a call from Marianne, if you guys remember in Alice in Wonderland when the rabbit's like, Marianne, Marianne, so she gets a call from Marianne that Wonderland is in danger, and she needs to return to help save Wonderland from the evil queen, who is taking her rule to a whole different level. Also, on the other side of everything, she is in England, and there is a political race for mayor, and one mayor wants to kick out all the people who are not from England and send them back to where they came from, and Alice is not about that life. However, her sister is very much about that life, and her sister keeps trying to set her up with guys who also believe in that life, and Alice is just not interested. She meets somebody named Katz, and he is trying to help her kind of come to terms with the fact that her sister is so into this, but she doesn't need to be, and he's very against the political race, so he's trying to get her to understand his point of view. Her sister's trying to understand her point of view, and Alice needs to go back to Wonderland to save Wonderland. So there's a lot going on in this book. I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I love a good Alice in Wonderland retelling. This was for the prompt of a new release. This was released in September, so it was a very new release, and I'm glad I read it. The nice thing about the Twisted Tales collection is you don't have to read them in any specific order because they're all based off of different Disney movies, and the Disney movies don't overlap in the books. So it's a great read. I really enjoyed it. This is 513 pages long, and there was no audiobook, but it was a really, really quick read, very entertaining, and if you like a good Alice in Wonderland retelling, I have to say this is probably one of my favorite Alice in Wonderland retellings that I've read so far, just because there was a lot of, even though it took place in England, there's a lot of maybe mocking our current presidents and our current political races that are happening in America. So I thought it was really entertaining, really had a lot of funny elements, had a lot of dark elements. I really, really enjoyed this. So yeah, it made me really happy just to read an Alice in Wonderland retelling because I haven't read one in so long. The next book that I read, I listened to on audiobook, and it was Swordbird by Nancy Yi Fan. This was for one of my yearly long prompts of reading a book by an author under 25. So this was actually written by, I think it was either a 12 or 11-year-old girl, so Nancy Yi Fan, when she wrote this, was either 11 or 12. And this is about a tyrant hawk who is trying to enslave all the birds, and 2 small birds end up going out and trying to find a solution to get the sword bird to come down from the great mighty sword heaven, and kind of, it's not really called sword heaven, but that's just what it felt like, but trying to get the sword bird to come down and save their people. I only gave this 1 star, and I really did try to keep into consideration the age, and I have to appreciate there was a beginning, a middle, an end, there was details, there was references, there were metaphors, there were analogies, and it was really well constructed for somebody so young to have written it. However, I just didn't understand a lot of it. The plot line was kind of all over the place at parts, and I just really didn't fall in love with the characters or fall in love with any real aspect of it. So unfortunately, it was only a 1-star for me. The audiobook was only 3 hours and 46 minutes, so it wasn't like a big pain to listen to, but it was disappointing because I really did want to like it. I respect her so much for writing it so young, because I do tutor a 10-year-old girl right now, and like reading her stories and understanding like that's how a normal 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old writes stories. It's a very job well done to have a full novel, 219-page novel written out at only at like a preteen age, when, you know, there's so many other stuff that you probably want to do and have done and stuff like that. So, you know, but it just wasn't for me. I really did try to like it, and it just wasn't my thing, unfortunately. So it was only a 1-star book for me, and it was really, really one of the books that I disliked the most this year, I want to say, so that was unfortunate. But the next book that I read was The Good Hawk by Joseph Elliott. This was for disability rep, for my Booker D prompts, and it's disability rep because one of the main characters, it's written from 2 points of view, Agatha and Jamie. And Agatha actually has Down syndrome. It's not said right out in the text that it's Down syndrome, but in the author, about the author, it is said that she has Down syndrome, and the way she's described, talked, everything like that does typically resemble Down syndrome. So it's very interesting for me to read because I have a nephew with Down syndrome. So it was really, really cool to read from a point of view of somebody who had Down syndrome and not have it be the whole book. Like, that's what I have an issue with reading books with disability reps sometimes, is it's like, oh, but remember this person has a disability. Oh, but remember this person has a disability. It really didn't do that in this book. It was like very subtle undertones to like, she messed something up because she has Down syndrome and didn't understand the social cue for that, but it wasn't all about that. It was, and she was able to fix her problems and have an understanding of her anger and stuff like that. So it was very interesting. But anyways, this is about Agatha and Jamie. Agatha is the one who has Down syndrome, and Jamie is actually being outcasted in his community because he is being forced into a marriage, and marriage is outlawed in their clan. So he's being forced into it to kind of combine forces with another clan because clans are being kidnapped. However, this ends up backfiring and his clan is kidnapped anyway. Jamie, his wife, and Agatha end up going on a small boat right before the kidnapping, so they are not taken. When they return, they realize that they have to go save their clan. And in the midst of all this, Agatha is discovering a power that she has, and Jamie is trying to come to terms with the things that he was forced to do to save his clan and then wasn't able to do it anyway. This is the first in a series, and I was kind of bummed about that at first. I was like, oh, I really don't want to get into another series. However, I think that this might be my new favorite series, and I can't wait for the next book to come out in January. I believe it's the end of January it comes out. I did give this book 5 stars. It was slow going. You guys can actually watch this in one of my vlogs. It was my first vlog of Vlogoween that I talk about this book. It was slow going at first. There was a lot of like world building, trying to understand the clan, stuff like that. But once I got about halfway in, I was addicted. I flew through it. I cried. I laughed. I hugged it when it was over. It was just such a beautiful book. It was everything that I needed to hear, everything that I needed to read, and it was just so well done. I absolutely love it. 5 stars, like beyond 5 stars. This is, I think, one of my new favorite books, and I really, really cannot wait for the next book to come out. So I highly recommend it for you guys. The last book that I read in the month of October was Beautiful Broken Girls by Kim Savage. This was for the prompt on my Booker D to read my lowest rated on my Goodreads TBR. So honestly, I gave this a 3 star. I didn't really understand why it was the lowest rated, although I can see why people would maybe not understand some of the elements. So this is about Ben, whose ex-girlfriend has just drowned in a quarry with her sister. Quarry. a lake. I'm calling it a lake. So the two girls drowned and committed suicide basically, and Ben was left a note by Mira, which is kind of 13 Reasons Why-ish, but it turns out not to be that at all. The notes are very cryptic, and Ben assumes everything from abuse to sister rivalry to everything. Like, that he just cannot figure out the answers. They're not straightforward. It's basically riddles to him. When he discovers what's actually happening, it does have a sort of Catholic spiritual element to it, in the fact that the sister thinks that she has been given a special gift from God, and everybody's kind of letting her believe that, whether safely or unsafely, or they truly believe it. It's kind of left up to you to figure out. It is a very interesting book, dark, creepy. That's what I love about Kim Savage's books. I read In Her Skin before, and it just left me with like these icky vibes. Like, it was just like one of those things where I was like, oh, that's so disturbing. And again, same for this, not as disturbing. I only gave this one a 3-star because there were some elements that people say are very supernatural. I think if you're reading literally, it can be supernatural. If you're reading metaphorically, it can be just a very disturbed girl and the people who encouraged her to stay that way. So it is interesting. It's up for a lot of interpretation, as Kim Savage's books usually are. But I don't think it deserved to be the lowest rated on my TBR. I feel like it was a pretty good book, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, but that concludes my October wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. For November, I have like almost 20 books that I'm going to try to read, which I don't think is actually going to happen, but it's November 1st, so I'm going to crack one open today and hope for the best. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye! Hi guys, I just wanted to leave you with a little side note. Next week I'm going to be going on vacation for Sunday and Monday, so my video will be posted on Saturday. So stay tuned for this coming up Saturday. We'll have a video posted for you guys.
Wasn't that a great video? Clearly books make me very happy. Now you can make me happy too. Click the subscribe button to follow my channel. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you think I did good. And the notification bell will let you know when I post new content. Also, follow my Instagram for more book shenanigans.